Hello and welcome to our SAT math course. Today we are going to look at linear equations, inequalities, and functions in context. Before we get through these questions, I would like to point out the steps that you should keep in mind when you encounter these sorts of problems. Number 1, you should define one or more variables that represent quantities in the specific question. 2, write one or more equations, inequalities, functions, or expressions that represent the relationships described in the question. 3. Solve the equation. And finally, 4. Interpret the solution in terms of what the question is asking. Question number 1. In 2014, County X had 783 miles of paved roads. Starting in 2015, the county has been building 8 miles of new paved roads each year. At this rate, how many miles of paved roads will County X have in 2030? Assume that no paved roads go out of service. So, to answer this question, first we need to decide what variable or variables we need to define. As seen in the question, the number of miles paved roads depends on the year, so we can define a variable to represent the year. So let's define n as the number of years after 2014. Then, as the question says that the country X had 783 miles of paved roads in 2014, and is building 8 miles of new roads in the year, that is n years after 2014. To calculate the rate of miles of the road County X would have in 2030, we need to subtract 2030 by 2014, which gives us 16. So the year 2030 corresponds to n equals 16. Hence, to find the number of miles of paved roads in County X in 2030, we can substitute 16 for n in the expression 783 plus 8n. This gives us 783 plus 8 bracket 16 bracket. Then we can simplify this to 783 plus 128, which gives us 911. So therefore, County X will have 911 miles of paved roads in 2030. Question number 2. In 2014, County X had 783 miles of paved roads. Starting in 2015, the county had been building 8 miles of new paved roads each year. At this rate, if n is the number of years after 2014, which of the following function f gives the number of miles of paved roads there will be in County X? Assume that no paved roads go out of service. A. F brackets n equals 8 plus 783n. B. Fn equals 2014 plus 783n. C. Fn equals 783 plus 8n. Or D. Fn equals 2014 plus 8n. So, we already answered this question in the last question, as it asks you to create a function that describes the context. The answer is C. Fn equals 783 plus 8n. Question number 3. In 2014, County X had 783 miles of paved roads. Starting in 2015, the county has been building 8 miles of new paved roads each year. At this rate, in which year will County X first have at least 1,000 miles of paved roads? Assume that no paved roads go out of service. So to solve this question, we need to figure out that this question is asking you to solve an inequality. As figured out in the first question, n is defined as the number of years after 2014. Then, the expression 783 plus 8n, figured out in question 2, gives the number of miles of paved roads in country X and years after 2014. This particular question is asking when there will be at least 1,000 miles of paved roads in County X. This can be represented by the inequality 783 plus 8n is greater than or equal to 1,000. To find the year which there will be at least 1,000 miles of roads, we need to subtract 783 from each side, giving us 8n is greater than or equal to 217. An important thing to remember is that the inequality sign does not change when a number is subtracted. Then, now we can solve for n, which gives us n is greater than or equal to 27.25. Now, we should notice that n is counting calendar years, so the value of n must be an integer, meaning that there shouldn't be any decimal places. The least value of n that satisfies 783 plus 8n is greater than or equal to 1000 is 27.125, but the year 2014 plus 27.125 would equal to 2031, which does not make sense. Therefore, n should be rounded up to the nearest integer of 28. Therefore, the year that County X will first have at least 1,000 miles of paved roads is 27 years after 2014, which gives us 2042. Question 4. To edit a manuscript, Miguel charges $50 for the first 2 hours and $20 per hour after the first 2 hours. Which of the following expresses the amount C in dollars Miguel charges if it takes him X hours to edit a manuscript, where X is greater than 2? A. C equals 20X. B. C equals 20X plus 10. C equals 20X plus 50. Or D. C equals 20X plus 90. This question defines variables C and X and is asking you to express C in terms of X. To do this, we must first create an equation. We must notice that Miguel charges $50 for the first 2 hours and then that he charges $20 per hour only after the first 2 hours. So if it takes X hours for him to edit a manuscript, he charges $50 for the first 2 hours and $20 per hour for the remaining time, which could be written as X minus 2 hours. So his total charge, defined as C in dollars, can be rewritten as C equals 50 plus 20 bracket X minus 2 brackets, where X must be greater than 2. When we look at the answer choices, we can see that the equation does not match with any of the answer choices. So what do? We should expand the equation, which gives us C equals 50 plus 20x minus 40, which can be further simplified as 20x plus 10, which is B. So the answer is B. The last question. A builder uses the function g, defined by gx equals 80x plus 10,000, to estimate the cost gx in dollars to build a one-story home of planned floor area of x square feet. If the builder estimates that the cost to build a certain one-story home is $106,000, what is the planned floor area in square feet of the home? So, from this question, we can see that it asks you to find the value of the input of a function when you are given the output and the equation of the function. The estimated cost of the home is the output of the function g for a one-story home of planned floor area of x square feet. The output of the function gx is 106,000, and you need to find the value if the input x that gives an output of 106,000. So what do? We need to first substitute 106,000 for gx in the equation that defines g 106,000 equals 80x plus 10,000. Now we have to solve for x. If we subtract 10,000 from each side, we get 96,000 minus 80x. Then we can divide the sides by 80, giving us x equals to 1,200. So therefore, a one-story home with an estimated cost of $106,000 to build has a planned floor area of 1,200 square feet. That's it for today, and I hope you have learned something valuable. If you have any confusing questions, please leave them down below in the comment section. Thank you.